this is just a dream I had this last night, and I was, let's say, I was in an educational environment or something like that, and I was looking for a place to stay or a room. That kind of thing was part of it, but I met up with some of the students or young men in the kind of like a dormitory or office / dormitory, and they were young Japanese men, and they were working on projects, and they had, of course, with the computer, and they were, I was hanging out there, or actually I was presenting something to them, let's say, and well, I just wrote down some notes about it, and I'll see how well I am able to describe. But one of the things I noticed I would created in my own mind was I called the electronic wave sound, or EWS, and as a tool or a agency of some kind. Anyway, I met up with these Japanese, with these guys. They were like a team or working together, or they were students, working in the same areas. And I was talking with them concerning this project or idea. There was something to do with libraries and things that we had stored, or like files on the computer, let's say, but it wasn't, I didn't see the files. I was just saying it was like that. And I was building form types or music. And these are like computer apps, I think would be appropriate relation. I'm not sure that that's exactly right, but I'm going to say that I think it was. These guys were working on or looking for. I presented something to them, or had been talking with them in little group together, and then I guess we went out to test it, and was then found myself kind of over floating above the ocean and above, let's say, the boat, or where our pointer, our position point, wherever that was. I don't think I was the only one doing that, but I was kind of out there over the ocean, outside area, above the waves and so forth. And there was something being done or occupying attention. And at some point, the main guy, I would say, of this group was warning that there's a danger level here. And it has something to do maybe with the radiations. And I was kind of presenting something that had to do with having our awareness of gamma rays and other kinds of rays and waves that, let's say, we identify in a scientific way, although they may be more like, say, higher vibrations, and not necessarily just physical, you see, and like that. And so that was it. The guy was kind of warning me and saying, and so I got this, this idea of come back away from it, go back onto the ship, out of the field. And interesting, because actually I think part of that fear was that actually there wasn't any danger in investigating the waves and the rays, the radiations or whatever it was, but that they are concerned with this, and maybe they have very good reason to be, and at the same time maybe I do as well, that this is an area that's not allowed to be explored or is being explored in ways that are unhealthy and not good, such as like building a nanotech or what's the Switzerland where they're playing with crushing the atom or speeding up the atom to the electrons and to hyper velocity, all of that stuff. And the celestial tracker is what I called myself. And I was observing this had something to do with the study I've been doing with the Solaris, which is solar universal positions, instead of the common one is the astrological, which is really like saying planetary as opposed to universal forces and factors and stars and suns and blah, blah, blah. And so I called it the thing really is to learn how to solarize oneself. That is, become aware of our 5 bodies or our whole vehicle, actually, not just the 5 bodies, but the whole vehicle itself and its connection, that the connection with the all-isness, which is maybe this guy was warning me, you don't want to find out what the all-is, like that. And that's kind of how I associated it with what was told today. Last thing was I just called, okay, it's also about riding the new wave and to be a new star. That is someone who will come out and really be well, we used to call it being a vehicle or channel, so that's not right, but I'm just using these terms again for each of us to, let's say Duane say, step up and do something. So I call this the USS Ark or Arch, the starship. Funnily, because I was watching Star Trek, Strange New Worlds is the latest persona of the Star Trek shows. And the last episode was very interesting about a woman learning how to an officer on the ship who was learning how to she was met by the Captain Kirk. She met him as in another body, in another life form, in another time frame. And there was a danger to the whole universe, and they, or at least to the timeline. And so this episode was all about that and the activity that the woman had to act totally independently, even though it turned out she was actually working with what we used to call the time makers, which in the Star Trek show, they labeled them as the Federation had these time cops who would make sure that the timeline wasn't played with, and they would go back in the time frame from the, let's say from the future, they came back at the end of the show to where this girl was and Kirk was, to or where she was in her her own real timeline on the Starship Enterprise or whatever the name of this current starship is that she was with, working for the Empire Galactic Federation. Yeah, thanks. That's the end. And does that make sense at the end there with the correlations with Star Trek a little bit? And the current media, how they're bringing out the program that's going on, which is really a process of everyone becoming aware. And that's the end of that.